Let's go to the hot topics and check out the highlights of this weekend's racing action. Early in the Nextel Cup race at the old Las Vegas, well, actually the new Las Vegas Motor Speedway, looked like the record for cautions was in danger, but then things settled down, and the records that fell were actually for leaders and lead changes. Jeff Burton had the next to last lead change, and then his electrics went south, and he yielded to Jimmy Johnson, and the Nextel Cup champ made it 3 in a row at Las Vegas and did a monster rolling burnout. Best moment of the weekend, the Wild Busch race finish. Jeff Burton goes outside hometown boy Kyle Busch in the run to the checker, and Busch spins. Okay, not quite as wild as the Daytona 500, but you got to love a race in which the runner-up crosses the finish line going backwards. Cool. On to the motorcycle stuff. Raise your hand if you really thought Ducati would win the first ever 800cc MotoGP race. New hire Casey Stoner did just that, pulling away from the legendary Valentino Rossi in the season opener in Qatar to score his first career victory. World champ Nicky Hayden struggled all weekend, wound up 8th. There's the Nixter, 5 spots behind his teammate Danny Pedrosa. Daytona Bike Week. Keep good mojo for last week's Windtunnel guest Ben Spies. He swept AMA Superstock and Superbike season openers. He is now the man to beat for both of those championships. And then the weirdest Daytona 200 thing I've ever seen. All 4 factory-backed Hondas rolled to a stop just short of the first pit stop. That opens the door for Steve Rapp to win the big race on the Attack Performance Kawasaki. So, how is it that all of the factory-prepared or factory-supported bikes apparently run out of gas at the same time? The answer is they weren't out of gas. I have on the phone Kevin Arian. He owns Arian Racing, and his defending Formula Extreme Series champ Josh Hayes kind of dodged a bullet yesterday. His bike stalled within reach of the pits. Josh came back to finish 5th, so his hopes for a repeat title are still in good shape. Kevin, turns out the bikes weren't out of gas. What was the problem?
Well, Dave, we believe that there was a vapor lock situation. Our bikes and the American Honda bikes, we all started with the same amount of fuel, and we got lucky. We were bringing Josh in 1 lap earlier than the American Honda guys because we have 2 riders we have to use 1 pit stop crew with. So that's why Josh was in the pits. But all the bikes vapor locked at the same time because they get the same fuel mileage, same amount of fuel left at the bottom of the tank. Wasn't fluid any longer. It was vapor, so that's why the bike stopped running.
So when you filled his bike at the pit stop, it didn't take a full tank. There was still fuel in the tank. Is that right?
That's correct. We knew right after we filled his bike and he went back out that we measured the fuel that went in the bike and knew that it didn't take a full load. We just couldn't change the type of fuel that we put in the bike to get to, say, a higher boiling point fast enough. We had to bring him in again before that magic point in which the fuel was going to vapor again.
Right.
And that's why we ended up with an extra pit stop. We had that splash and go right at the end,
yep.
And we really had no choice.
So real quick, you don't have reason to run 20 or 21 straight laps in practice, so you never ran the tank down to that final 3 or 4 liters. Is that right?
We never do that, Dave. There's just not enough track time to try to put that many laps consistently together. But I'll tell you this right now. We've been racing Hondas 14 years, 10 AMA national championships. You don't do that with motorcycles that just fail like 4 motorcycles did. So it was a fuel-related problem, but nothing mechanical. And nothing wrong with the fuel either. It was just simply a matter of we didn't know that was going to happen, obviously, and we'll know the next time.
A weird glitch. Thanks for the explanation, because obviously we all thought they had run out of gas. Kevin Arian, who was Arian Honda rider. Josh Hayes will attempt to defend the championship. Got down to the bottom of the fuel tank. Fuel boiled and got hot and vapor locked. Also regarding the bikes, potentially huge news, though, for Formula One fans in America. An email about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Where is this thing? What's it say? Dave, MotoGP at Indy say it isn't so. A second American round would be wonderful if it ran at a proper road course. Signed, Disgusted. My heart agrees with you, Disgusted. My head says the only real road course in America that could both handle the safety standards and the outrageous cost of MotoGP would be Barber Motorsports Park, and why they haven't gone after a GP, I don't know, but I think it's a moot point because my gut says this Indy thing is going to happen, and once it does, there will not be a third USGP. So How are they going to run bikes on a track that has already had safety problems for the F1 cars? Well, F1 fans pay attention. According to Autosport, this is the layout drawn by the head MotoGP guy to run counterclockwise, left to right on the front straightaway. That's opposite the way the F1 cars go now. The rest of the rumor is once they change it for the bikes, the cars will run the same way. We'll see if, in fact, that is going to happen. And we're going to take a commercial break at this point, and when we come back on the other side, we'll find out what Scott Speed has to say about the recent contract issues in the upcoming season. There's Scott Speed. Hello, Scott. We'll talk to you in just a second.